Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. It's the first Thursday of the month, which means it's recipe time. Today we're celebrating the maple sugaring season, and we invite you to join us for some of the very best maple recipes you'll ever taste. As always, we encourage you to support your local sugar maker by buying pure Vermont maple. Because of the current pandemic, we're unable to bring our chefs and food into the studio, so we're going back to last year's maple season. In addition to our regular chefs, Carolyn and Marco, we featured a special guest chef, Michelle Poulin of Brookfield. Michelle was a 2019 Vermont Maple Ambassador. All of our cooks gathered at the UVM Nutrition and Food Sciences Department, which kindly allowed us to use its student kitchen. The UVM Nutrition program, based on science, studies many global issues like foodborne illnesses and food insecurity. So let's head to the kitchen for maple recipes and producer Will Michael.
Who better to have with us than one of Vermont's Maple Ambassadors? Michelle, thank you much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you.
So, before we get started on recipes, share with us a little bit, how is this year's maple season?
So this maple season has been a little bit weird. It got started really, really late, and now everybody's been doing good, but it's been really steady, and we haven't really had the big run that a lot of people get, and so people are making maple syrup, but how it's going to go, no one, I think, really knows. There's no way to predict it. Obviously, Mother Nature's going to do what she's going to do.
No way to predict it, but we will keep our fingers crossed that as we head further into April, we get some decent runs here. Okay, now you tell me that you brought in a couple of things to share with us, and the first, we're used to pancakes and waffles and maple syrup, but your first is a breakfast recipe.
Yep, so it's maple walnut crepes with caramelized apples. My grandmother actually used to make it for my mom, and then my mom started making it for us just a little bit a while ago because I asked her about it, but she always raved about them. So they're really easy. When you first start out, just any crepe recipe will do, just basic crepe recipe. And then you take Greek yogurt and maple syrup and just combine them together with some walnuts.
Awesome.
And then make some caramelized apples using maple syrup, and then take the Greek yogurt, put it in the crepe, and top with the caramelized apples, and then whipped cream and some maple syrup. And it's probably one of the best breakfast items you'll ever eat, besides pancakes, but they're really good.
And those, anything that comes through a family being passed down, that adds to it. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Now, you told me we're going to start with breakfast, but you also have something for dinner.
Yes, so another one is just really easy. You can do it in the oven or you can grill it depending on what time of year it is, but it's maple salmon. Just combine it with some soy sauce, maple syrup, a little bit of garlic, and some sea salt and pepper, and then just depending on if you're putting it on the grill or using it in the oven, just marinate it for a little bit and then put it on the grill and baste it with the rest of the remaining marinade, and then serve it with a salad or whatever you want. But it's really easy and it's really good. So. Two
great recipes, and you heard it right here from a Vermont Maple Ambassador. Doesn't get any better than that. Well, maybe it will. Let's turn things over to Carolyn and find out what she's got. Again, Michelle, thanks for being with us. We'll turn the kitchen over to you and see you in a little bit.
Well, I have three recipes. I've got kind of dinner and rolls to go with it, and then I have cookies for dessert. So I'm going to start out with this maple glazed ham, and this comes from Rebecca Reynolds in Lyndonville, and she said she entered it in the maple contest from the early 60s, 64, 65, won first place, and she was asked to appear on Across the Fence and present the recipe. She believes that Helen Workman was hosting the show at that time, and as a gift she received a small tea apron with a maple leaf stencil on it, which she still has. But I'm going to start this off. It is a mix of ground ham and ground pork, and then some breadcrumbs, eggs, milk, and some spices. And you mix everything all together, and then you put it in a baking dish. Bake it for, about 1¼ hours. You take it out, and while you're doing the baking, you mix some maple syrup and some mustard and cloves and It wanted to fall apart for me, but that's not unusual. And then you pour that mixture over your meat. You bake it for another 20 minutes or so. And when you get done, you've got this really nice piece of glazed meat. It really tastes delicious. I think you'll find that if you make it and try it, you'll find that it's great. So thank you very much, Rebecca, for that recipe. I have the rolls. These are whole wheat and oat flour yeast rolls. Or not oat flour, just oats yeast rolls. Very easy to make, although they do take a little longer because you've got the rising time and everything. But they are fantastic. It uses whole wheat flour and white flour. Nice texture inside. Again, they are very, very good. We've been enjoying them at home too. So then for dessert, I have maple ginger snaps. And these are very quick, very easy, and it makes a lot. It's just shortening, sugar, maple syrup, about a cup of maple syrup, eggs, flour, those things that go with that. And you mix it up. You do want to cool it for a little while. But then you make nice little balls. You roll them in a ginger and sugar mixture, put them in the oven, and they just spread out nicely and just makes a really good either a snack sometime or dessert, and you've got a lot of them. So those are my recipes. I think Marco has got some. We were threatening to steal some of
my main dish?
Yes.
Well, I'll trade you. I'll give you some of my main dish if I can have some of your cookies. How's that?
Works for me.
Okay. Thank you, Carolyn. Well, maple sugaring is my favorite time of the year. It's actually the time when I probably wear my maple tie that I wear year round, but I'm especially proud to wear this time of the year. So let's get on to recipes. My first recipe is this maple pulled pork buns. And from a distance, they actually look like cinnamon buns, but there's pulled pork here that's been slow cooked, and they're very easy to make because it takes refrigerated bread, like the dough. So it's just a matter of takes a little time because you have to slow cook it and then let the dough rise, but they're absolutely worth it. As you can see here, I'm going to break one of these. Look at the pulled pork in there. Isn't that beautiful? And I'm telling you, I hope you could smell here because it's really, really nice. And then on top of it, I always like to add a little bit of maple syrup on top because you can never have enough of that. And I gotta tell you, one of my favorite things about Vermont maple syrup is the fact that you feel like really connected to the people that produce it, because on most containers, you can actually see here in the back where your maple came from. So if that doesn't really feel you connected to the maple producers, I don't know what does. And mine, as usual, comes from Hackett's Orchard in South Hero, whom I send them a big hello. So let's move on to the next recipe. With this pulled pork, you probably want to have some salad. And this salad uses some of the best things from Vermont, which is apples and maple, of course. And this is a apple salad with maple mustard vinaigrette. It's very easy to make. It's all your regular greens, chopped apples, and the vinaigrette is where the maple comes in. It's basically it's made with apple concentrate, and then you add maple, some spices, and you pour it over your salad. You can also candy your walnuts in the salad with maple sugar that I got right here. I love to use this for my candied walnuts because it really makes the that maple flavor very distinct. So I hope you give this salad a try. And for dessert, my last recipe is this maple whoopie pies. And this is a viewer recipe. It came from Lise Pecor from Bristol, Vermont. And this whoopie pie is not only really good, it's very easy to make, and it really packs a punch of maple in there. So I hope you give it a try.
Great recipes. You had the tie. Carolyn's got the wonderful shirt.
I know.
You guys were great. Our maple producers will be proud of all of us. As always, we have a couple of different ways for you to get today's recipes. You can go online to the Across the Fence website, go to uvm.edu/extension and click on the link to Across the Fence. And that's where you'll find the recipes. To get the recipes by mail, send $2 in a stamped self-addressed business-size envelope to Maple Recipes, Box 188, South Hero, Vermont, 05486. Please do remember, if you're ordering the recipes, to include $2 and the stamped self-addressed envelope. Now, we'll use your return address for this month's free cookbook drawing, and even if you're not ordering the recipes, you can still send along your name and address to the address on your screen to be entered into the free drawing. And again, that's Maple Recipes, Box 188 in South Hero. A big final thank you to all of our chefs today, and thank you for joining us. We encourage you to buy Vermont Maple. We know you have choices, so thanks for choosing us. I'm Will Michael, inviting you to join us back here each weekday afternoon for another visit Across the Fence.